So welcome everyone. Very quick introduction. So Niela is an expert in humanistic psychology, organizational development, and the arts. She was a Gestalt therapist, mentor, and coach, and has guided lots of different individuals all over the world and organizations toward greater fulfillment through creative, sensory-based methods. And she was also training lots of professionals to develop their own methodology, their own toolkits and approaches in their work. So she was not just a practitioner, but she was a practitioner's practitioners, like there are artists for artists or people doing supervision. She was also kind of a meta practitioner, if I may. And I am JB Labrune. I am a researcher in creativity at the MIT Media Lab here in Boston. And I met Niela through some of the YouTube conversations she had with other people of Gestalt. And I was like, this woman is awesome. I have to meet her and talk with her. And this is what I did. I contacted her and we're here today. And I'm very happy to be with you. Last thing, Niela is also very active since a few years in Second Life, which is a virtual reality kind of platform. And she's known there as Marley Milena, and I put an avatar pic of Niela in Second Life. And she when I wanted to meet her, she said, "Oh yeah, I can meet you, but we have to meet in Second Life." I was like, "Okay." That was kind of a long time I haven't been to Second Life, so I recreated a new avatar called Nadam, and then I could enter the Octagon and all these beautiful creative spaces she built there to pursue her IRL in real life activity in this new environment. So maybe, Niela, you want to say one word or two about yourself also beyond my presentation?
One word or two.
Or more.
You want me to speak specifically about Second Life or?
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. How your practice went to Second Life and how Second Life, because of
Yeah, okay. I mean,
yeah.
all of my life I've been doing stuff that involves using copious amounts of imagination in all kinds of ways. And in the biosphere, in the actual physical domain, I did a lot of Gestalt artwork with people. I trained people to use arts processes of all kinds. I am a multimedia artist myself, and I also have done a lot of composing, music composing. I have a whole video, which you can find on my website later, of all my piano pieces. And I've done choral arrangement choral pieces, and I have a background in theater and in dance, and I'm an arts junkie. What can I tell you? I am addicted to the arts. And so I've found ways to combine arts, psychology, and education in all kinds of platforms. So I've worked in corporate environments, for nonprofits, in all kinds of medical situations, in many different venues. And then when I heard about Second Life, I realized shortly after I got in here, first of all, I was immediately attracted, as I have been all my life, to the idea of alternate realities. So when I was a kid, I'd read a lot of fairy tales, and I would always imagine myself as the different characters. And when I taught English at a big school in New York, that's how I approached teaching creative writing, to have people become their characters and then see how the story develops from the inside out. I could give many, many examples of this, but it was like I had a metaphorical mind. And so it was natural for me to have things stand for other things, and so on. So the whole idea of symbolic modeling really came from that. So
The,
I think I've said enough of that for now, right?
yeah, just a quick free association on this, that one thing stands for another. Aliquid stat pro aliquo is literally the definition of a symbol. Like the symbol, the symbolane, is this little stone that is broken in two and that is able to be transferred between two people. Literally, metaphora in Greek also means a transfer. It's literally a displacement of one location to another one. So this metaphorical mind you have is maybe linked to this idea that as cognitive animals, we're able to displace our locus of being or thinking the world, and this is one of our specificities. So moving on from that, just wanted to reflect also on your background and these color bubbles, these abstract bubbles. In symbolic modeling practices, you invite people to stay on an abstract level in order to multiply the possibilities and not go directly to figurative representations that might trap you in one dimension or another one. So this is an example of your artwork, but also of this abstraction that I wanted to show about this practice. I wanted to also highlight some of your works. One of them is Being Alive, creative and emotional intelligence tools for people professionals, which is a very interesting document where you gathered lots of your practice. So I want to advertise it here. It's a PDF on your website called peoplesystempotential.com. So don't hesitate, guys, to go and look at these resources. It's very insightful. You mentioned Second Life. We're going to go more into the details there, but I wanted to show just a quick picture of some of the spaces you created. Usually there are these very inviting spaces with lots of chairs that are equally disposed, and where few participants can go on the scene, go on the stage, and try to make sense about a symbolic model that they done. But we will enter more into detail. So now I want to shift gear and go a little bit about the theoretical foundations of your practice. And I found this color picture of Carl Jung. Is one of the inspiration of your practice. Especially, I wanted to show also this picture of the Red Book that maybe some of you guys know. It was a kind of esoteric book of Jung for many years, but then it was published, and it was basically reserved to his friends. I think he would offer it only to the people he knew in kind of a small circle. But it was a very important book where some of his dreams and imagination were represented by himself as his art. So he was also drawing this thing himself, and were triggers for associative processes, kind of origin of the notion of dream works that then subsequent psychologists such as Arnie Mindell would explore. And again, you can see that in these drawings, we have a bit of figuration, but it's very abstract, lots of patterns, lots of archetypes. They invite us to resonate at a different scale with them and try to complete. They are incomplete on purpose. So we can adjust their finality with our own states, emotional states or cognitive states. So yeah, so maybe you would like to say one word on your connection with maybe with this Jungian atmosphere you knew when you were in the 50s. That was one of the big name at this time.
I went to the Jung Institute in Switzerland, and some of us took a side trip to Jung's property there, where he built a tower. He had all kinds of things around there, and we actually talked to an old neighbor of his who talked more personally about the man. That was very inspiring. And then right after I got back from the Jung Institute, I could talk a long time about all the stuff I learned there. It was incredible. I met a major teacher of mine, Arnie Mindell, who's just died recently, who created, who was there at the Jung Institute for years with his wife, Amy, and created something called process-oriented psychology. And in a just brief nutshell, he, first of all, he was also a physicist. He had like many different talents, degrees, and skills. And he figured out that often things that are happening in our bodies also show up in our dreams, and that we can get information about our own process by watching what happens there, and also the body as a waking dream. So all of this came out of his study of Jungian psychology and is taking it in a new direction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go also through some of Arnie's work just after, where you can also expand a bit more on this. And this is another kind of sketch or drawing by Jung. It's kind of a mandala, because Jung also was very interested in connecting the Asian tradition and the European basically approaches. Yeah, just to share with you, I think it's very interesting to look at that. Then second inspiration for you was these two people, and especially the person on the left, which is Frederick Perls, with his wife Lore, or Laura, American name, but she was Lore, German name. And they created this thing called Gestalt therapy, which is a therapy based on the Gestalt principles that few others with them have created. And there is this book that you told me was also very instrumental for you. Maybe you can say one word or two about it.
So Fritz gave the last full training workshop at Bob's and my house in Lexington, Massachusetts, in the late 60s. And it was a 4-day workshop, I think. And he was quite a character. I mean, he did not filter his opinions about people, about processes, about things going on. But I learned a tremendous amount from this guy. And Gestalt work it's a philosophy also. It's a psychology. It's has been the basis of a lot of what work I do with the symbolic modeling, which you'll see later. I'm not sure what I can say in a brief time, JB, but
yeah, I mean, one concept that will also do a segue to Arnold Mindell and Amy Mindell's work is this notion of the field, that in Gestalt approach, the idea of Gestaltung in German is this idea of a global form, of a continuously connected form, where we are in lots of fields that basically touch each other. They are literally connected to each other. And in these different fields, we try to have a kind of a trajectory. We have different states, and we want to go to a different state in the future, maybe. And being aware of this field is very insightful for the person, but also for the practitioner. And you use this in your approach in the way Process Works is using this notion of Gestalt field. You also told me that in Gestalt therapy, you took this particular things that it was possible for the therapist to invite the client to change perspective and to try to inhabit different roles in his life or in his time with the practitioner. And
Yeah, this is a little bit misleading. I would call this a description of process-oriented psychology. Gestalt, you know, the word Gestalt, there's no real equivalent in English. It means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
that's right.
And I like to use the example of, like I studied conducting for a while. And so if you ask, what's a symphony? It's an event, it's an audience, it's different instruments interacting with each other. It's the score, it's the conductor with the baton. All of these pieces make up this event we call a symphony, but it's greater than just adding all of these pieces together.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to have also some visual association. So this is a Rubin vase that I'm sure all of you guys know here. But just also to reflect on the notion that we can see different shapes. So either you see the face or you see the vase. But what preparing these slides with Niela, what really interested me was that they are topologically continuously connected. And this is interesting because in a way, this notion of field is also this in-betweenness between the therapist and the client that is manifested in Japanese architecture. There is a notion of ma, which is this silence or this interstitial space between people, between the building and you. And I think that this notion of field also reflects on that. Moving on, this is a drawing, a painting by Amy Mindell, also very symbolic, and we all love spirals, of course. So they are here in this picture, where I like this picture because they look very full of joy, but also very focused, which I think is very interesting and reminds me Niela as well. So yeah, maybe you can say one word or two on your encounter with the Mindells, with both Arnie and Amy.
Oh boy. Well, I knew them, I've known them for years. As I said, when I came back from Switzerland, I went to a lecture that Arnie was giving in Cambridge, actually. This was in the 80s. And I was immediately captivated by his notion of the dream body. I mean, given what I've told you so far about myself, it's probably not surprising to you, because here I am, you know, in my dreams, I am in an alternate world. And my dreams seem just as real to me as my physical reality, and the correspondence between them, and what you can do to follow the process of a body, but not just individuals. He then went to groups, and they've been all over the world working with countries that are in conflict, and have done all kinds of work in Ireland and Russia and Africa and all kinds of places, using this idea of a process-oriented psychology, which there are many videos, and I think you may have a link to their website. I don't know,
Yeah.
JB, but there, if you're interested, there are many things that you can see there about what they do. And I think that they have introduced just a brilliant way to work through things that seem intractable by simply following a process, not trying to change it. And when I do the symbolic modeling, that's part of my goal, is to, the power is with the person who's made the model, and I'm just simply there encouraging them along a path.
Thank you so much for that. I would like to say two things now. One, as a creativity specialist, did my PhD about this, do creativity at the MIT Media Lab for many, many years with people like Jesse with us today, like very creative people. Very often, and even here at the MIT Media Lab, which is one of the most open place on this topic in the planet, we are asked to know in advance where we are going. Why? Because budget, KPI, funding, justification, risk management, de-risking. What you're telling me now is totally the inverse. Follow the process, follow intuition, and then after a while, you can post-rationalize, you can reassure the investor, the colleagues, the friends, whoever. But follow the process for a while and see where it leads you. I think this notion of trusting the process, trusting people is really key for individuals, but also for group works. As a former diplomat, I know it it's very important to trust people. But our institutions, more and more, they don't give us this opportunity. So I wanted to make this comment on, process work at different scales. And
you're going to see an example later of. I have basically two approaches to symbolic modeling. We'll talk about that later, but that is something that JB did, where he actually started with an idea for something, but then as much as possible, I tried to get him away from thinking about that end goal and just staying with what he discovered as he worked on the process. Now, when I went to the Media Lab, I was so excited. JB showed me and my family all around the place, and I saw lots of different projects, including one that Jesse was working on. And I thought, oh my gosh, for people to learn to embody what it is that they're creating and see what ideas they get from that, that would be a really exciting thing. So that's when JB and I just started talking about, how that might be able to happen. Yes, but it's a seeming paradox. It's a seeming paradox, but I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. You can, in what we call an inside-out process, start with an idea or a concept or a goal. But then in doing the symbolic model, you let go of what that goal is and start to discover things that you may not have thought about, because it's an embodying kind of process where you become the thing that you're making and just follow it along the way you would with a body symptom, the way I learned from Arnie in the beginning. So anyway, that may give a little bit of perspective.
Thank you so much. And the second thing is Esalen. Esalen in Big Sur, California. Many people we just evocated were associated one way or the other to this place.
Esalen.
Sorry,
yeah.
Esalen.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're talking about the same
place.
Yeah.
That's this place that Michael Murphy and grandfather had this piece of land that became this fantastic place. Why I'm mentioning Esalen, it's because I think Fritz Perls lived there for a while, I think, at some point. Yeah. And you and Bob also are closely associated with this place, and the Mindels as well. So also in this idea to have a space that is not written in advance, where the goal or the objective is not clear, is not set in advance. And yeah, that's another example of an unfinished or yet to be determined place. So I wanted also to mention this as a key connector of these practices of yours. So moving on, showing two trees, one of made by Arnie Mindel, and the other one which is your tree, and basically trying to integrate in process work many dimensions that could be internal, as you said, the inside out basically movement, but also trying to connect with external dimensions. One thing I didn't say about Arnie, that actually Arnie was an MIT student. So there is also this connection with this place here. But he went from, let's say, physics in the 60s to SLN. So I think it's a kind of interesting path there that he did. So yeah, so maybe you can reflect on trees, Niela.
Well, this is interesting because I hadn't seen the Mendel's tree until you showed it to me. I don't know how I missed it, but it's great seeing these side by side. So the whole thing is a symbolic metaphor. Even in the language, the tree has roots. What were my roots? So this is, and we're going to talk about life integration of symbols right after this, probably. What were my roots, like the genetics that I came in with? Both of my parents were in the arts in one way or another. So was an aunt. So were my uncles. And very early childhood experiences. It's not big enough for you to actually read the stuff on it. So I'm just briefly going through. And then what was my trunk, my foundation, which is the trunk. That's all of my education, which was quite unusual, and camp experiences and all kinds of travel that I did, and then I branched out. So there's another metaphor right in the tree. And so my main branch is there in the center. It's called creative process, which has followed me through all my life. And then I put in 4 other branches: training and development, therapies and tools, family and friends, and community building. And so those have been my main branches off of my foundation. And then the leaves, of course, are what grows from all of those branches. And they give specific examples in each branch of what that branch contains. Okay, now I did this several years ago, probably 9 years ago. And so I would probably add more leaves to it at this point, but not a whole lot. This really symbolizes, and it's an example of a life integration symbol. And I think we could show the other ones. JB and I could talk a little bit about if people want to do life integration work. One possibility is to choose a symbol that's in the collective consciousness, and here are some of them, or to create your own. So I'll just do one, like the steps. Like, here's the metaphor. What are these steps that you've taken? Where did you start? What happened on each level? And where are you now on the top level? And then you can keep adding steps and adding information as you go along. So that's one kind of symbol. And another might be a spiral that's more time-based, like starting from your birth. How did you unwind into the person that you became and the interests that you accrued along the way? And you would blow these up so that they're big and you have enough room to write in them and so on. Very, very interesting process. So there are a lot of different possible life integration symbols that you could use, including, often when I do this workshop with these, people are excited to create their own, and probably the people here would also want to come up with a symbol that works for them, where they can put in that kind of information.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Reflecting also on what you said about Amy and Arnie Mindel's work on big conflicts in the world, not just individual kind of reflection, but how we situate ourselves in groups, in collectives, communities. I was thinking that maybe if each one of us would have our own symbol, and we could be represented by it, and we could tell who we are, our identity through these symbols, it could invite then through the symbolic reversal to see the world from the perspective of the other through their own symbols, and not just culture, like very high, complex, and sophisticated things, but maybe the one they chose for themselves. And I think that I listened to lots of videos of the Mindels when they were doing this Ireland, for example, very tensed, conflictual things, and they would invite people to speak out really their heart. So let's go back to the course of the presentation, and then let's dig a little bit more into now some of the thing that we have done. But before, I would like to open the floor to maybe that was the meaning of this bug. It's a moment to reflect and to do a little break in the presentation. So you guys around this table here, but also online, if you have questions, comments, it's a good time to tell them, so we can also reflect, and not just me and Niela speaking in front of you guys. So yeah.
And there's going to be more. We're going to show demonstrations
Of course.
different
But
things.
that's and the first more theoretical part. Everything is clear. Yes, Jesse, thank you.
I have one question. First off, this has been fantastic so far. I'm wondering if there is any danger in inhabiting a thing that you're creating. Is it possible to gain too close a psychic distance to your own creation? Is it possible to wind up in too interwoven a position where it's difficult to pull back out? And if so, how do you guide someone through that?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question. Are you saying that can people get into emotional tangles from doing this work? Or I'm not sure what you were asking.
Sure, yeah, to some extent. I more so mean more specifically than an emotional tangle. I think that, if you're asking someone to, for example, inhabit the mental space or emotional space of a character that they've created, are there challenges in, as a method actor might experience, growing too close to your character, finding it difficult to separate your perspective from theirs, experiencing too much of a meld?
Well, one of the beauties of symbolic modeling is that you're creating something that's out there that you can then interact with in any way you choose. Generally, you'll see examples of it, but generally, I will say, what is it that's flirting with you right now from that object that you might like to explore? It can be a color, it can be a shape, it can be the whole thing, and so on. And then play that part as though it were a character in a play. And when you've said as much as you want to say about it, we'll move on. So the person is in charge of his or her own experience. So there's very little danger that they'll go beyond what they feel able to deal with. You're going to see examples of that too. It was a good question because, of course, whenever you're dealing with people's feelings or internal life, there's always a possibility that they'll go beyond where they think where they can feel like they can handle something, but it doesn't really happen. Also, the job of the facilitator, and I train people to facilitate this work, is very specific in keeping this a safe and more fun environment, focusing more on the creative aspects of it, and not seeing it as doing therapy so much as simply as exploring an area of design that can help people think creatively about stuff. Thank you for the question, Jesse.
Other questions, comments? Moving on to the more now practical part. I'm going to share screen again, if it allows me. Hi, Bob. Hi again. So yes. So Zoom share screen. Took. Okay, and so basically, these are the two approaches for symbolic modeling we're going to talk today. There might be others, but we decided to focus on these two because they are very practical. First, one called Inside Out, with my beautiful sketch drawing of it. Usually you told me, but I didn't have time, that it should be a full body that should be inside out, not just a dot. But that's the movement. You start with something inside of you, a feeling, a thought area, and you focus on this, and then you build some kind of symbolic, abstract object that could be 2D, that could be 3D, in response to how you resonate with yourself. Through the guidance process, and this is very important, you don't just do it alone. It is possible for you to make new discoveries about your area of inquiry. So the idea of facilitation or guidance is also very important. I must say that the facilitator guides you in adopting these new perspectives on yourself. And this is what is very important, that you might not be able to do by yourself. The second one...
I do it by myself because I've been talking to myself for years about this.
Sure.
So you'll see an example of that.
Yes, but if you're not Niela Miller, you might enjoy, for the first steps, to have some guidance and facilitation. I would even say that yourself, Niela, you benefited from having some facilitators around you over the years.
Oh, yeah. I've had people facilitate me. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, but yeah. And the second one is outside in, which is creating or building something that's
creating a build. In other words, taking geometric forms that are available and putting them on the screen in different configurations, or a drawing, or another art piece like a collage or photographs used in fanciful ways, without knowing what its meaning or significance is until you're guided to explore it. And then you embody it, contrary to the inside out, where it comes from the body in the first place.
Exactly. So on the one hand, you have some kind of a notion, or you have already a prior. And on the second hand, the other one, you are just going with the flow, basically, in the process, and you don't have something in your mind. These are two very interesting and important things. I did my PhD on creativity back in the days, and I studied the notion of exaptation, which is the exploration of adjacent possibles in evolutionary psychology and basically in nature and evolution. And there are two big main exaptation. One where you create a new function from a previous function, a previous trait. So this would be basically the inside out, where you will modify something that was in you. And the second one where you basically create a new function from scratch. And this would be the outside in. So it's very linked to these creativity studies, what you describe here. I could be more specific for that, but maybe more in a paper. But that's very much aligned with lots of creativity theories, what you just described here. So some examples of this inside out. So how do you feel? So lots of emotions. You used it a lot in character development for storytelling, with actors also embodying different kind of characters and persona. You also worked with educators that wanted to shift the perspective of their students on different kind of complex things. Also, you can use it for more diplomacy or politics, when you have a very complex decision-making process, like the one we discussed about the Mindel, but also, and this is the one we wrote for MIT with Niela, maybe in the science world, when you just have an idea and it's not clear, it's just an hypothesis, for example, for an experiment, something you want to do, maybe you could develop already at this stage your idea without waiting for having a proper experiment or funding or something, or someone believing in the idea. So maybe treating the idea a bit as a character, and now saying, I, the idea, so I, the nano microfluidic channel that I am building, I am 3 angstrom wide, and I'm doing this and that. So trying to embody your particular scientific artifact that could be also work in this context. Do you want to add something, Niela, about what I said?
Well, in effect, you can use it in any area of inquiry. That's why it's a global process. It's something that anyone can use really for any kind of inner or outer experiments of any kind. So you're not limited. These are just some examples, but really you can use it in myriad ways. And that's why we think it is so useful as a tool, and because it provides new perspectives that lead to insights and further people's either personal development or professional development, or their projects that they're working on, or a deeper understanding of an area of inquiry, and so on.
So that's one of your drawings, actually, one of your paintings. Can you elaborate a bit on that, for example, as a concrete example?
This came from a dream. I was in a big mansion, and there was a guy who was giving away all of his treasures, all of the stuff that people usually think is very precious. He was giving it all away, and so I spent actually a whole day. But this is quite a large thing, maybe 4 or 5 feet by 3 feet on the wall. And one thing I love to ask is, are these things falling down in the crucible or exploding up? And there are different symbolic things, like if I become those leaves in the upper right-hand corner, I can say that sometimes I can be poisonous if you don't know how to treat me. If there's a pearl in the hand that could have a voice. There's a vine that's weaving through the fingers, and there are all of these different jewels and so on. So it's a fairly colorful and complex little piece that I've got a lot of different ideas from. And then the basic idea about where I am in a certain stage of life, what I keep, what I give away, what I want to get rid of, what I want to give to other people, all kinds of things like that. So those were the kinds of ideas or questions that came to me in doing this. It made me, because the last part of this, of course, is this does not exist separate from your actual life. You connect it to, well, what does this have to do with what I'm trying to investigate here, or with my life as it is now? What ideas am I getting from this? Okay.
And just to be also very concrete and precise for the people that don't know the technique, in a facilitation activity, and we're going to do this very soon, but the facilitator would help you to adopt the perspectives of each one of the elements that you decide to choose from this picture. So for example, me, I could choose the little blue gem that is a bit in the void. For me, I have lots of things to say, like it resembles, for example, the Earth from space or whatever, but this is not the technique. The technique would be, I am this blue dot. You will embody and you will speak with I and try to see the whole painting from the perspective of this particular element of the sketch or the painting. So you will try to project yourself inside the story space, basically, or inside the diegetic space of the painting. So I think this is what is very powerful. Really try to stick to that and to shift your focus to one of the elements that you described. Not unlike, I must say, because I did many years of psychoanalysis, when sometimes your therapist is telling you, oh, interesting, or is slowing down on one word, on one thing, and suddenly you zoom in to one very particular thing, and then you try to explore from this phenomenal view, like, Spinoza monad. You see the whole world from one dot, one point of the story, basically. So moving on, little video demonstration. So I'm a bit shy, but this is part of something I did with Niela a few months ago in Second Life. So we can recognize Niela, Marley Milena on the left and Nadam, which is me, on the right. So I'm going to show you a little video of it, if the video let me. Let me see if it works. Thinking about for that. And yeah, to
Keep this symbolic, not actual. We want, so I don't want literal objects of what you would put in the playground, for instance.
Of course.
So
It's hard to hear you.
Your experience.
It's hard to hear me. Thinking about for that.
I don't know if you can turn the volume up any more than that.
Not actual.
Maybe let's put the volume off. It's better, and let's comment on top of it. So this was an activity where you invited me to make a symbolic model in Second Life in your octagon space. And I choose these primitives, 3D primitives from the Second Life model building tool. And then, yeah, there is this command that I was already familiar with the editing tool that we don't see on the screen for some reasons, because the GUI of Second Life doesn't show in screen the 3D modeling object. But then I was changing the textures and the colors. And basically, this is, yeah, the very rough model I was doing. And you are guiding me on speaking from the point of view, for example, of this triangle or this cube. So I would say something like, I am a cube, I have this amount of vertices, and I'm in the middle of other geometric objects. So I will talk as if I would be one of these physical objects. And it was very hard because I wanted to say lots of things. And it's very hard to stick to feel the new body that suddenly now you're a cube and you are maybe in metal. You're not used to that. But it's really like you develop kind of a new skin and a new contact to these other objects. And because this assemblage of objects was also linked with a particular thing I was going through, I could then gain new perspectives about that. You also invited me at certain point, I didn't put it in the video here, to change the disposition of this object and to say suddenly, what if the cube will be floating and the cone will be now on the ground? You invited me to swap some position of objects. And then this was very insightful because for me, a cube is heavy, is on the ground. But this is Second Life, and the cube can fly. And why not? And this is this flexibility that the digital medium allowed us to do, to unstick from the boundaries of reality. And this is what we explore in that. So that's a quick example, and we're going to show other example, but I wanted to reflect on that. You have something to add or to say, Niela?
That I took my cue from what you said, In other words, when I make a suggestion like that, it comes from something that was embedded in your language when you were talking about your experience.
Yes.
So that's one of the really important things for a facilitator of this process to know, that you don't jump ahead and just put in your own ideas. You take the idea from what I'll call it a client, is telling you, and then the suggestion for experimenting with that can be put out there, and the person can be encouraged to try some different things.
If I may, because I was reflecting this morning on my bike about this event today, and I was thinking about Jesse and AI models and all these kind of new possibilities technology allow us to do. And one of them is with now with basically large language model, it becomes very easy to record every word. Every single word we are saying will be recorded. And then we can associate some of the context of this word or the affordances they basically are connected with. So, for example, a word can evoke motion. A word can evoke some kind of semantic space that then, as a facilitator, we might pick on and try to not amplify, but to follow up. Instead of projecting our own world, our own space into the client's world, we'll try to listen to these hidden cues or clues that gonna maybe we help them blossom up. And this is very important. As a designer, I worked as a design ethnographer. I was shadowing people in their house to see what kind of brands of cereals they were buying. Not very interesting, but I had to pay the rent. And one of my tasks was to just list the exact words they would say when they would open the box of cereal. Oh, this is really remind me of this or that, blah, blah, blah. Because the marketing people, they wanted to know exactly the precise word they were using in order to resonate on them and really amplify this very personal thing. It's very important point of the practice.
Part of the job of the facilitator is to keep track of adjectives, of different words that describe a person's process while they're saying it, and then feed those back, because when they hear them, they also will get other ideas. And the other thing is the metaphors that are built into the situation. But I think we should go on and we can show other examples.
So the second one is outside in, and these are a few examples of that. This is, for example, one of your creation that I am contemplating in Second Life, Niela. And this is a more in volume, in physical space, just to illustrate the fact that we are not bounded by 2D representations. It could be 3D representations, and they could be also digital, like you saw in Second Life just before. This is another example we wanted to show.
Thoughts or questions or comments?
Yes, well, Blue Box, I think maybe as part of this mod, I could contemplate what's inside there. It's maybe the spinning circles will lead me to it.
She's talking about the box on the bottom.
That's right.
Maybe that's your goal. You spinning cones is to lead me towards what's in the treasure box of meaning.
And does the box have a response to that? Or if so, what is it?
Yes, I'm the blue box, and there is meaning. There's always meaning to hunt for. And it appears in our lives that it's changing in different places, in different forms, in different formats, but there is meaning. I've got it in this box.
All right, now, when you were speaking, you were making a connection between the moving parts and the box and what that connection might be. The box did not mention those moving parts, so I'm interested in what they would have to say to each other.
The box speaking to the moving cones, the box might say.
So that was just an excerpt, so you could have a glimpse of how it works. And this is another one.
Well, the ones that are still on the platform that haven't fallen off are fully opaque again. And I think that means that they can grow.
We can grow. Let's be those. Even.
Yeah.
We
can grow now. It's like you removed a canopy in a forest and we're the foliage at the bottom that wasn't getting sun. So
I want you to, can you use your stretch edit and actually see what happens if you allow those side ones to grow?
Yes.
Or you could pick up the ones that are on the floor and put them on there. I don't know. However you want to do it. You just
All right, let me interrupt for a minute.
Of course, you can
This is
interrupt.
an example of what I was. Can you interrupt? This
Yes.
is an example of what I was talking about before. That I don't make that suggestion until she suggests it first in what she's telling me. Okay, so it's a very interactive process. The facilitator has to be an exquisite observer, not only of the language that's being used, but the kind of energy that's being expressed by what is being said. And then you can tell if I'm making a suggestion based on what she has told me, and she moves right into that was the right moment for that. Sometimes, this goes back to Jesse's question, sometimes the person's not ready for that next step, and you can tell by the kind of response, which might be not wanting to do that right now, or I'll do it later, or something like that. So it's a constant feedback loop between the facilitator and I'll call the person the client.
The participant.
those obstacles.
Participant, yes.
Okay, and you know how it feels to you to have all three columns basically the same size.
It feels pretty liberating. They seem happier, and that makes me happier. Like a sort of freedom from, like, sometimes if I do something that feels like a safety net, it's actually more of a
So, yeah, I just stopped here. Okay, so I think we have seen both practices, but today, because it's already 3:15 kind of in ET here, we're gonna switch now to the hands-on activity. We're gonna do an outside-in exercise. Duration 5 minutes. It's individual exercise you are doing at home. And what is it? You're going to do an abstract drawing in 2D in order to simplify. And I give paper to Benji, paper to myself. Let's take one of these 200 color pencil. Nice. Yeah, Crayola. And it has to be abstract, not figurative. Colors are okay and encouraged. Don't hesitate to use colors. Through facilitation, gain perspectives and insights that are not possible to acquire by thinking or talking alone. Because we are many people, we will not be able to facilitate all the work of everyone, but we will do 2 facilitation, basically. One online that Niela could do of the drawing of someone, and one
You got one person in the room.
yeah, if Benji is my candidate, okay, great, he's open to that, and we can do that as well. So let's now use the next 5 to 6 minutes to draw, and then we reconvene afterwards. So yeah, enjoy.
If you take that picture off there so I can pin whoever I'm going to be working, like I'd like to see both of your, since you're in the same space, I'd like to pin you and Benji and have you just hold up your drawing.
Yeah.
If you can, people, if you want to see them close up, click on pin and you'll be able to see large. Oh, they're great. Now, this is very interesting. I want to show you something because this is often how collective consciousness works.
Sorry.
Do you see that there are correspondences between the drawings in certain ways? So that's another thing that happens. Where are these bubbles coming from? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, from
But you know, like the size of the gray thing that JB has on the left, and then the pinkish thing that Benji has.
but we didn't look at each
And
other.
they're sort of in the same part of the paper, and then there are these different kind of wiggles, and up in the upper right corner, there's a separate thing in both of them. You see that?
We didn't look at each other's drawing.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's a collective consciousness. That's part of the Jungian stuff, that when a whole group of people are working on things together, you will often see these kind of correspondences happening. So who am I going to work with here? I think Benji, right?
Yes, Benji.
All right.
Okay, Benji, take the mic.
Benji, I'd like you to start from wherever you would like to, and you can use your finger also so we know where you are there, and just become the thing that you're pointing at and describe yourself objectively. That is, that we can all agree that what it is you're describing is what we see. So no interpretation right now.
Right. Okay. I am the pink form that is sort of in the middle of the paper. It's mainly sharp and jagged.
I am mainly
I am mainly sharp and jagged, and there are many things that are going through me. Yeah.
Okay, see if there's another part that you want to describe.
Sure. I am a green swoopy line. I am both smooth and easeful and sharp and pointy at the same time. I play in and out of the pink jagged fence or circle.
Okay. If these two were going to have a dialogue with each other, let's see what they would want to say to each other.
Okay. So this I'll do the pink jagged shape. Green swoopy shape. I'm so jealous of you. You get to fly all around and you get to exist in and out of different spaces, and you're both pointy and swoopy, and I'm just pointy, and that makes me sad. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you if you now have some associations, like you said, that as the pink form, you're sharp and jagged. You have many things going through you. As the green, you're smooth and useful, and also sharp and pointy, and you go in and out of your pink form. And in the dialogue, you said, I'm jealous of you, green. That's the pink.
Green with envy, perhaps. Yeah.
Okay, so see if you can associate that in terms of the kinds of qualities that you represented, and apply it to anything that you're working on in your work life, let's say.
Sure. Yeah, so I think something that I've been struggling with at work is when to have conflict and when to be sort of like graceful or let go of conflict. And I think that these two shapes kind of embody a couple different approaches to conflict. One is to like kind of be jagged and sharp and have the conflict and really give people within it no place to go. They have to basically be in dialogue with me. And then the sort of like green swoopy shape that's also sharp sometimes is kind of like taking this approach of moving through conflict, maybe bringing conflict to a crescendo where it makes sense, and maybe letting go or like exiting the situation if it isn't serving me.
Okay, wonderful. Now, I want to just mention that if we were going to work more on this, I mean, one of the things that would probably be important, you see the brown line goes right through the center of where that green part crosses.
Yeah.
Comes down and swirls around. So that part also might have something to say about this situation. And you could start to hone in on a particular situation, maybe that may be conflictual at work, and what these three voices might like to, the globalization, like, again, going back to the idea of field theory, that in, not taking a fixed position, but seeing what would happen if you use these several different approaches to this situation and what it might yield for you. Okay, so this is a very, very, very brief. If I were actually working with Benji on this, we probably would take it at least an hour, to work on all the different parts and so on. So we're just trying to give you a flavor of this today. And there are opportunities if you're interested, in doing more. Okay, thank you so much, Benji.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much, Benji, and thank you, Niela. Maybe we could take one online, maybe Jesse, maybe you would like to share. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you so
hey, Jesse is a shill. Jesse's a plant.
Thank you.
All right, so again, remove your pin if you pin people and put Jesse on the pin.
Cool. So I have this on an iPad, but
so this is a digital screen. It's not a paper,
Yes.
right? Okay. So now Jesse is working with a different kind of medium, which is interesting because it yields different kinds of marks and so forth and so on. Okay, so if you're looking at that now, Jesse, what is right now in this moment attracting your attention? What part? And you can just point.
I think I'll start at this rectangle here, or square.
Okay. All right. So become that as though you were a partner in play, and describe yourself and maybe your intersections, but without interpreting or saying, well, this is what this means. Just describe yourself.
Cool. So I am a square sitting somewhere in a haze at the intersection of many sloping lines. Just a little bit far away is a block of color that I'm not sure I can quite see, and a number of dots that I haven't connected.
Okay. All right. So since you have referred to those dots, it would be logical to go there next.
Would you recommend going to the dots inside the circle or the dots further away?
What were the dots that you were referring to just now?
I guess I was referring to these.
Yes. All right. So I am a series of dots. Now you become the dots. So you're shifting your perspective to the dots and describe yourself as best you can, because they're not all exactly the same.
They're not. This is true. Okay. I am a series of dots at different distances from each other. I am in a large circle that is partly permeated by a haze, but I'm not quite in it. I can see many points of interest around me, including some kind of smudge. I am variable. I am aggregate, but not necessarily connected.
Okay. Now it's interesting that when you were those dots, I don't think that you were referred to the square that you were initially.
That's true.
Yes. So the things that you leave out or don't say are just as interesting as the things that you say. And so the things that you were referring to were the large circle that you're inside of, and also the smudge. Okay, so see what you can do. Actually, there are two smudges, one on the top and one on the bottom. And were you looking
The
at
thing that I meant to refer to was this blue streak over here.
Oh, as a smudge?
Yes, I probably should be calling it something else, but yes.
Oh, because I was seeing the smudge as a smudge. Sorry. Okay. All right. So go ahead and be that blue part. Describe yourself and your location and so on.
Sure. Okay, I am a blue streak. I am somewhere on the boundary of things. I am entangled with a bit of haze. Many things are looking at me, or could be if I perceived it that way. Um, I'm partially within, partially without, and I'm fading away just a little bit, as if maybe I'm going somewhere, headed in a particular direction. Maybe I'm going in circles. I see a few other things around me, but many of them are blocked or obfuscated. But I know that I can go around and around this boundary and duck in and out of fog if I so desire.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, low power.
Okay. So this is the blue streak on the boundary.
Mhm.
I'm entangled in a haze. There are lots of things looking at me. Maybe I'm going in a circle, and I can go in and out of this boundary. Okay. Now, is there anything that the pieces that have spoken so far that they want to say to each other?
Well, I'm noticing that the square isn't being noticed by anything else, as you had pointed out, and I think that's quite interesting. So perhaps the square wants attention, but I'm not so sure. I do think that if we're speaking about envy in the same way that we did earlier, which I thought was quite interesting, maybe if I am the circles within, I want to be the circles without. Maybe I don't even realize that there are circles outside, and I wouldn't realize until the streak moves. But now I'm thinking about the higher level dynamics of the drawing, so perhaps I shouldn't be doing so.
No, there are no mistakes. Okay. All right. So just take a breath and look again at this thing and then see if there's anything else that you want to express, either about the whole or about, I mean, you just said something that was very eloquent as well. Anything else that you feel you need to address? There is still one part you haven't spoken about at all, but that's interesting also.
You mean the circle at the bottom?
The circle that goes through that square that isn't being recognized yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So
When
the
I had
circle is
that,
not being.
I had something very specific in mind, which is I was seeing that as a starting point. That was, if we were doing this in 3D, it would be looking out upon everything else. Almost as though all else is a theater or all else is something to be projected toward. But this particular circle, I think maybe what's interesting me here is the dynamics of what can observe what. I don't have particular thoughts on how each of these components feels about that, but I get the sense that many things are not in communication that could be.
Jesse, I wish I had another hour with you because this is very interesting to me, and I'm hoping that you're starting to get glimmers of ideas about things.
Oh,
If you
totally.
say anything about that relates to your actual work in the world or whatever, that would be a nice segue or nice way to try
Yeah,
to end.
absolutely. So I am very much at a transition point in my life, which is exciting to me. I'm starting a new PhD program at a different university, and it's been a wonderful and wild ride so far. But one thing that I have to very much keep in mind is how I want to proceed from where I have been. And so in drawing this, partially I was considering those kinds of entanglements, like what is in sight and what is not, what is near, what is far. But in reflecting on this now, I think I'm also considering what parts of my future see what parts of my past. And I think that's quite interesting and something I'd like to reflect further on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in listening to also the metaphors there were quite a few, but one has to do with what's seen and what's unseen. What wants attention, what hides. What kind of movement is taking place both inside and outside of me. And we could go on with that. So all of those things which you expressed in one way or another would then become part of the gestalt that is forming. And if we kept working on this, I think that you would come up with more surprises and discoveries and so on. So let me ask you, since you have not done this before, right? What was that process like for you? I think that would be interesting to the other people who've never done this.
For sure. I thought it was very interesting. I was surprised to find so much metaphorical meaning in the relationship between shapes. And at first I was trying to think of, I'm used to thinking in a much more figurative way, at least when I'm drawing specifically. I think more metaphorically in my writing. And so it was very interesting to me to just see where brushstrokes would take me and what kinds of metaphors were emerging in my thinking about my life as I was drawing much simpler shapes. I think a lot about, in fact, there's something called lamination in the work that I do, which is the layers of meaning that we impose upon or encode in the things that we live with, make, etc., that are only visible to us. And in this context, I was very surprised about the speed at which lamination emerged, the things that were being overlaid so rapidly in each of these ideas or each of these shapes.
I just had a thought which went out of my mind. The idea of the Gestalt formation is really being well expressed in beginning this process of seeing these different layers, and also what it is that you don't notice, like when you're constructing reality and you think you're on top of everything and you suddenly recognize, oh, I've forgotten this, I haven't paid attention to that, and what kind of attention are other people giving these different parts of me. So that's a whole theme there. So one of the things I would do if we're going to work more is to get the different themes clear that came through in your language and in your drawing. And there would be a lot of, I think, rich discoveries that you would make from doing that kind of process. And anytime you want to, come on into Second Life and I'll do it with you. Okay. All right. So I want to know if the other people who are watching or listening are making sense of these processes. And well, I may be jumping ahead. JB, I think that people should be able now to give some feedback on what it is that they observed with Benji and Jesse. Yes?
Yeah, that's correct. So first, thank you so much, Niela and Jesse and Benji for
fun.
very interesting, and also thank you for sharing, because it's also some kind of a public event, and you share also things that are connected with you, with who you are. So I wanted to thank you for that. It's super interesting, very rich. I would like to ask people, if you want, of course, take a picture of your sketch and then just share it in the chat, drag and drop it in the chat of the Zoom, and then we could have like some examples of what you went with. I think it's a nice feedback, because I think that for me, but more than for me, for Niela, all the feedback you can give is really, really precious, and it's really something that adds to the practice. So it would be a two-way communication, not just in
And
one
does
direction.
he get his on the chat also?
Of course, of course.
Yeah, I can
I can
oh,
do
you
it.
got
I can do it for him. I can do it now. Take a picture.
Okay, and I would love for the rest of you, anyone else who did a drawing, to just hold it up. I would love to see what you
Oh yeah,
put.
can you just hold it up like this? We could do a screenshot also. That's a nice way to do.
Oh, yes, look at that. And they're all extremely different. Okay.
Herb? Yes.
I love seeing all the different forms of expression. I can't quite see yours, Herb. Can you put it up further and closer? I mean, higher and closer. You don't have your sound on.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I wish I had time to do all those with you. Well, Christine, I can do it with you some other time, but
So it's now 3:38, and I am the master of clocks, and I need to have the time respected. So let's go back to the last part of
okay.
time together. Thank you so much. It was super interesting to do this together. Okay, so now this is what we just did. One person online, one person in the room. Feedbacks from the room and Zoom. Yeah, so now we wanted to have a little bit of time to have also your feedback on, to open the floor to different kind of practices you have. Where would you think you could use this sim mod in your practice? This is actually, we would be interested if you could share, like in few words, where you see this technique or this approach could be used in your work. So maybe
Well, or
someone
in your work or in your life, because some people are
Of course.
retired, some people, you
Of
know.
course. So I'm gonna just do this to see more people. So if you want to step in, maybe also Andrea, maybe if you want to say a word
Andrea, are you still here?
in theory.
Oh,
Yes.
there she is.
Hi, yes.
Hi.
Thank you so much for this. This was extraordinary. Niela and I had the great opportunity to talk to Niela about my own work, maybe 2 or 3 times, and it was just extraordinary. I'm an architect and I'm also a VR developer, and I've recently just finished a tool that allows people to develop architecture and move walls and windows around in virtual reality. And my own fascination with that actually went from being a pure practical one. It's like, okay, I want to help people design their own houses, and it's much easier for them to do it in VR. So like the practical engineering part of my brain, to becoming totally fascinated by the psychological impact of how it feels to have an empty wall and then pop virtually all of a sudden make a door appear. There's this famous quote by, I forgot who said it, was someone like Nietzsche or Pessoa or someone like that, who said, I have waited my whole life for a door to open, but I have waited in front of a wall without a door. And every time I make a house, I put myself in a room with no windows and no doors in virtual reality. And I use my tool to just plop a door. And we have this animation where the door just appears and it slowly opens. Something just magical happens to me at the psychological level. So although I'm in my engineer brain, because as an architect, I have 2 brains, right? Although I'm in my engineer brain and I might be working on a client's house, there's something so powerful about that symbolism, right? Of just all of a sudden, a door appeared in a wall without doors, and it's opening in front of me. So, so this is the angle of my interest in this. And to answer the question that was posed earlier, I I see the applications of this process in like kind of going in two potential directions. One is the psychological self-improvement and the contribution to self-knowledge. And the other one is also in actually helping people produce things that are different. So speaking about my field, architecture, people really struggle to imagine apartments and layouts and houses that are different. They really struggle. We have a few architects and we're highly trained to come up with like new things, but normal people struggle. And I always found that so the regularity of the patterns, the regularity of the way bathrooms are laid out and kitchens are laid out, and the regularity of the objects we're surrounded by, and this inability of, let's call them untrained people, to come up with something radically different. I always was struck by that and felt a sense of sadness. And for me, in architecture, this tool I'm experimenting with has actually, without me desiring it to be a tool for that, has become a tool to help untrained people actually imagine spontaneously how a room might be laid out in a completely original way. It just kind of comes out of them. So I'm very excited about the method being used to help quote unquote normal people spontaneously come up with objects.
Yes, and to engage their imaginations in a much more intuitive way than they usually allow themselves to. It's a problem in Second Life. People come in and they design classrooms that look just like physical classrooms until someone says, "Hey, you could have your chairs up in the sky." I mean, you know, there are all kinds of ways of designing educational spaces. It doesn't have to be like the ones you already know. So that's a very good point. I want to see if anybody else wants to speak.
So if not, we can just move on because we are on the TikTok, if it's fine with you guys, for the last part of the presentation and workshop. Up, share screen. And now we're gonna just finish by just few more case studies and examples about it, and also sharing some links. So we talked about this earlier, this life integration. And here I put this video, but basically we wanted to show that in this case study video, symbolic modeling was used for character development. And basically we had these professional actors rehearsing a role, and they would use SymMod in order to become their character and adopt different perspectives in the play, or I don't know what the word, if it's theater.
Well, what this one was about was different feeling states. So the guy on the right is angry.
You have depth and a heart.
There.
And that there's more to me than what you see on just the outside.
Thank you. Lane?
I am angry, but I am.
So he says, "I'm angry."
Outwardly.
We can hear it now.
Oh, okay.
Even non-reflective, but on the inside, the anger is just growing and growing and more intense, and it's throwing me off center just a bit.
Okay, so this is an exploration of yourself as that SymMod, and now you're going to bring those feeling states into an improvisation situation. And so let me ask, where are you and what's transpiring?
This situation scenario is first day back at high school after the summer vacation, and this is the first class of the first day.
Please react from each of your SymMod's feeling states, and then indicate when you've completed the scene.
So,
oh, I am so happy to be back at school. I have missed all my friends. I can't wait to see everybody. I got a new dress. I have new shoes. I can't wait for everybody to come and look at me. I can't wait to see Chuck. I wonder if he's grown a mustache over the summer. Oh my gosh.
Would you just settle down? I mean, who can be that happy? I mean, get real.
Excuse me, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be here or not. Is this the right class?
Sure, come in.
None of us are supposed to be here.
This is a great day. I am just so excited. And who are you?
My name is Kat, but are you sure this is the right class? Can you help me out here? I'm not sure I'm supposed to be
We
here.
can't see her model, but it's one of confusion.
I'm supposed to be in English.
I don't
Say
know
it
why
again.
we can't see it.
Okay. So but I think we got the idea of how you can embody, and that was another kind of case of using symbolic modeling. Now we are just a few minutes to go. I would like to share with you guys some additional resources and invitation to join follow-up sessions and communities. So I created this form that I'm going to share in the chat. I'm going to copy and paste in the Zoom chat now. The Zoom chat, which is here. So if you can click form on this form, then you can add up some feedback you had of today's session that would be very valuable for us to have. And you can also take a picture of this QR code that would lead you to the form in theory. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can try. Then Marley Milena, aka Niela Miller, will be on Second Life in theory on the September 24th, 6:30 ET, 2 p.m. SL time, for one of the symbolic modeling event that she's having every month. There is the email contact of Niela's, also her website, which is very well done. And I am collecting with her, with Fran, with Greg, with lots of other people working with her, lots of her documents and videos and lots of concrete stuff, and archive it at MIT in a more perennial kind of form. We're working also on a document. The slides, I'm happy also to share these slides with you guys. So if you put your emails in the form, I would be happy to share the slides with you guys. And you also might have received my email, so don't hesitate to email me to receive these slides. Yeah, so these are basically what I wanted to share with you guys. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, maybe you can have also all these infos. I wanted to say also that Niela is making so many stuff, like so many projects. Another one is this music library she did in Second Life. I wanted to mention it because I think it's a beautiful project where she invites artists like herself, but like lots of other artists to also deposit some of their creations. And this idea to have a space where you can navigate into the creations of others is just amazing. And it's true that the digital world is amazing for that. When I started to use the internet in the 90s, this was my favorite part, to go on the personal webpage of people to see their own creation, as simple and you know, maybe not sophisticated as they were very sincere and genuine. And I think this is the sincerity we look in each inner process of people. And if you can collect this into this kind of spaces, it's amazing. Maybe in the future, there are going to be a symbolic modeling, a SymMod library, where we would have lots of these symbolic models, and we can go through them and having access to people through their symbolic models. But yeah, I wanted to show also this. We have only 1 or 2 minutes, but maybe Niela, you want to have the end word?
End word.
I don't know. This is what you say in
Well,
France.
what would be most valuable to me is getting people's feedback. I mean, one part we didn't have time for was how I can develop this approach more. I don't have the technical expertise that some people have here for making certain things happen with these models. Like having them have moving parts, and we can do simple rotations, but there might be other things. and having them be able to move through space intact. I mean, there are a lot of different things that could happen with them that I would need to have help with. My tech manager can do some of that with me, but he doesn't have that. He doesn't have a background in the kinds of stuff that I do. So he's mainly there for, dealing with Second Life technology. That's anyway. Maybe you can, JB, you can put my email address, or you can use the one on my website if you have ideas for me about this, or if you'd like to come in and help me develop this more or whatever. I'm very grateful to JB for the interest he's shown right from the start, that he's helping me create a kind of a legacy, and we're starting with MIT, but I'll probably be able to send some of this stuff to Antioch, my alma mater, and to other organizations that I do things for. So I want to thank you very much, JB, for all of your help on this, and thank you to Jesse and Benji for stepping out and doing this with me. So if you have anything that you want to say to have closure on this process, about the process itself, or about the way we formulated the program, because maybe we'll do it again in some other form, who knows. This would be the time to do that in the last minute or two.
Please, Jesse.
Maybe one thing to connect this to, this is less a closing thought and not necessarily an urgent thing to say, but something that I'm finding fascinating is, it's something that I was reckoning with in my own master's work, is that a lot of HCI has been very focused on input-output relationships. So here is some data, here's a way to represent it. And I think part of what's brilliant about this, or very exciting about this, is that this is a very different kind of external representation that's meant to prompt internal representations, right? And so I'm very curious about other ways to consider what kinds of external representations are best for talking about, considering what kinds of, like, usually when you're manipulating data on a screen, you're manipulating little cards of text or images or whatever else. You're not necessarily representing the ideas that underlie the thing you've created, right? So when you're thinking about sense-making tools and you're thinking about digital manipulation of the inner world, I think there's a lot of work to do there that I'd be very interested in. So all that to say that this was wonderful, and it was wonderfully facilitated as well.
Thank you. That's a very valuable thing to think about.
I can conclude by saying that I recorded, hopefully in the cloud, this session, and I'm going to share it with you guys also, and with other people from the MIT community. And if everyone is interested to reach out to develop these symbolic modeling tools. With Jesse, we are very interested in creativity support tools, CSTs. There is an active area of research, but symbolic modeling tools could be actually part of this creativity support tools, basically. And that might be maybe one of the takeaways of this adventure together, how to create tools dedicated, not just hacking Second Life for that. Zach, who was here, as a group called Future Sketches, where he's interested in also creating new tools for sketching. Maybe they could be used also for symbolic modeling. So these are two options on top of my head, but maybe lots of other people in other university would like to, or what you do exactly, Andrea, as well, in architecture. How can we help having this more dynamic, generative tools for symbolic creation, and then also browsing, facilitation, not just creating the symbol and the models, but to go through them with the tools. So that could be maybe a nice opening for the future works. Yeah.
I want to also mention that if people are interested in being trained to be in the facilitation role with this, I do that in Second Life on an individual basis. I set up sessions with people. I don't charge a fee, but I sometimes ask people to just contribute to the ongoing expenses of doing, paying my own people who help me set up programs and stuff like that. Do they all know how to access Second Life?
I think so. The only thing is where to find you there. And
Yeah, all you need is my name, Marley Molina.
I put it in the chat again. Marley Milena.
Molina,
Milena.
right. And you can also write to me at this address.
Milena. Okay, that's great. Great,
All right,
guys.
how do we get the recording, the link to the recording?
I'm gonna send it by email to you and to all the people that can put in the form their emails. If you guys want to put your email just now in the chat, I can also just record the emails of whoever wants just right now to put their email and just collect them and share the video with you guys that I'm gonna put on on a website somewhere. Okay, but it will not be on YouTube. I will not put the video on YouTube. It's more for between us. Okay.
You will own the recording, or MIT will own the recording?
So I think you will own the recording, and if
I will own it.
if you're okay with that, you can give it you can license or say okay to MIT to put it in his collection as a
But I could put it on my own YouTube playlist if I want.
Totally, of course.
Okay,
If
all right.
people agree, and that's okay. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody, for
everyone.
being here.
It was a pleasure to have you here with Benji. We had a great time in the room, and I hope you did as well. Lots of a smile in the. Thank you, Herb, for the email, and thank you, Jesse, to also to stay with us the all 2 hours. Much appreciated. Thank you a lot for that. So yeah, next event in Second Life, end of September, and happy to continue the conversation. Don't hesitate to reach out as well. Wishing you all a very great day. And we stay on the channel, Niela.
JB, you and I will stay
We
for a
stay.
minute.
Bye, guys. Wishing you a good one.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.